Hey guys, welcome to the second lesson in our Maya tutorial here at DevPro. Um, we will be covering how to use Maya, one of the industry standard programs in 3D modeling and animating, rigging, all sorts of stuff. We'll be mainly focusing on modeling. So, in case you guys don't know and have just stopped by on the channel, DevPro is a development Discord primarily focused for Roblox developers. We have a community that is very active, great. Um, I'll make sure to link it down in the video description. So anyways, let's get started. Before we start getting into how to use the program, make sure that you guys have watched the video on how to get a student copy of Maya. Um, that will allow you to test out the program and use it as long as you are a college and high school student, even possibly a middle school student. Um, anyways, let's go right in. So when you open Maya, you're going to get this exact screen you see here. At the bottom, we have animation. We have an animation timeline, some sliders, a Maya embedded language command line, and a few other menus. This is the Maya Classic workspace, which we don't exactly want as modelers. What we want is the Maya modeling workspace. So we're going to go up to here, this workspace uh, tab, and we are going to go down to modeling standard and click that. Next, we're going to make sure that this drop down here says modeling. Any other one changes what these top menus are. So say we're in rigging, it gives you rigging controls. If you go down to animation, it gives you some animation controls. Same with FX. So make sure it's in modeling. Anyways, just a few more things before we get started. When you go into modeling standard, there's only two menus on the right hand side. We want four. So we have modeling toolkit and attribute editor. What we're missing is tool settings and the channel editing box, which you can get to by these two buttons right here. So we're going to click the tool settings and we're going to drop it down into this section. And then we're going to click channel editor and also drop it down in here. And before moving on, we want to make sure that all these are of a uniform size. So you can click and drag out. And we're going to do that with the channel editing box also. Right, not having them be the same size can have some weird effects on the program when you try to change between these. So we want to make sure that they're all uniform size. All right, now that we have done this, we're going to go over a few menu things. So when you open the program, you're going to be in the poly modeling menu. This is where we're going to spend most of our time. It includes polygon primitives, a few things to do with baking pivots and deleting history, and some modifiers and different tools that we will find useful in creating models. Additionally, we'll be using the mesh dropdown, the edit mesh dropdown, and the mesh tools dropdown, and occasionally mesh display, but mainly these three. But we'll cover that in a later video. So off to our right, we have the modeling toolkit, which gives you some controls. We have the attribute editor, which allows you to edit the attributes of your selection. We have tool settings, which lets you edit your tool that you currently are using. And then we have the channel box, which we will go over later. Anyways, let's get into how to navigate the viewport. So if you guys need to see what keys I am using, on the right hand side at the bottom of the screen will be a key pop-up of what I pressed, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Anyways, to begin, let's talk about tumbling the screen. So to tumble the screen, we're going to press Alt and right click the mouse. So as you can see, that is, or I should say, turning the display. Next, we're going to work on panning. That's Alt, middle mouse click. That lets you pan the display. My FPS is a bit bad because I'm running a lot of programs at once on my computer. Anyways, and then to zoom in and out, we can press Alt and right click on the mouse. Alright, and if you want to zoom in incrementally, you can use the mouse scroll wheel. and that will allow you to zoom in incrementally. All right, so now that we've got that done, we are going to work on spawning our first primitive. So let's go back up to the poly modeling section. We are going to click on the poly cube, and that is going to spawn in a simple poly cube into our workspace. And if you guys are looking at the corner, you might have noticed I used a key combination. This is a custom one that I have. You guys won't have that. To do the same thing I just did, frame an object, you're going to press F as in frame. So if your view is away from an object, just click the object, F, and your screen is going to zoom in on that object and center it. Anyways, let's go back to talking about spawning in primitives. So if you simply click one of these, it will spawn in the primitive that's displayed. So we got a box. So let's click the box and press delete. That deletes it from the workspace. Now let's try double clicking this time. Now it's going to open a box, gives us options on how it looks when it spawns in. So width, height, and depth changes the size of the cube. So let's increase that to 6 on all of these. Next, width, height, and depth divisions changes how many times the object is divided. So let's just bring this up to 4 for the sake of showing you guys how to do this. Next are what axes it will spawn in. This does not really matter for a cube. It affects the orientation of the object. And after this, we have some UV settings and texture mapping, which we will not mess with currently. So anyways, let's create our cube. So now our cube is much bigger and has multiple divisions to its faces. This allows us to get something a tiny bit different from our default cube and allows us to start with more definition. Anyways, let's delete this cube and let's go to mesh, or let's go to create this time. So we've already created a polygon primitive with the poly modeling section. Additionally, you can go to the create section and go down to polygon primitives and choose one of these options to create a object. This little box next to here will open that context menu that we were playing with, the polygon options. But anyways, let's go to create polygon primitives and let's create a sphere, or a cylinder. Let's create a cylinder. All right, so we have a cylinder in our workspace. Now let's talk about how to edit our object, how to edit our components in Maya. So just to let you guys know, this really isn't this video is more focused on how to use Maya. It does help if you already have some 3D knowledge from, say, Blender or 3ds Max or Cinema 4D. I'm not going to go too in-depth about the components of a polygon, but the basic overview is a polygon primitive is made out of 3 different components: edges, vertices, and faces. So edges are these lines. Vertices are where the edges meet, all these little pink reddish dots. And then faces are made up of 3 or more edges. We generally want to make sure that they're made out of 4 edges. Those are known as quads. Anyways, let's go on how to actually get into our edit modes. So there's 2 main ways. I'm going to go over the most effective. So in Maya, you have these things called right-click context menus. So if you simply put your mouse in the viewport and right-click and hold, it's going to bring up this menu. Make sure you hold down right-click, because if you simply just press it quickly, nothing's going to happen. So hold down, and you can drag your mouse to any one of these options you want. So if you drag over to edge, it'll go into edge edit mode. So you can simply click any of the edges you want, and then over here we can choose which tool we want to use to edit this. So currently I've selected the move tool. This brings up a manipulator with 3 different handles and allows you to move stuff up and down, side to side, any which direction you want. I suggest playing around with this a bit because I don't want to go too much into explaining how to use it. But anyways, next we have the rotate tool, which, as the name suggests, allows you to rotate stuff. So you can change how the object looks using that. And then we have scale, which allows you to change the size of components or objects we are using. So next let's try to go into vertex mode. So vertexes are these little dots. You can use them to change just individual corners on your faces. And then you can go into face mode to edit faces. All right, so that is a basic overview of just how to get into the edit mode. Additionally, you may have noticed when I change into a certain edit mode, you can see the change happen here. You can click one of these to go into those modes that I just was in. All right, so now let's quickly talk about reference images. So when you're creating a model, you'll usually want to have reference images so that you can base it off of something in real life or off of concept art. Many people either can do it in their 3D modeling software or have an additional external program. I personally use this program called PureRef. It allows me to have them on my separate monitor and not have them crowding up my workspace. But you can put reference images directly into your Maya workspace. So to do that, we're going to go up to Create. We are going to go down to Free Image Plane, and we are going to create a free image plane. Next, you're going to want to go into Attribute Editor. This is, if you remember right, is how we can change individual settings of our objects. We haven't used this yet, but we will get into this more in our next video. So to put an image into this image plane, you can go down to Image Name, click the little file icon next to it, and then just choose a random image. So I am going to just select this knife. So now we have an image on our workspace. We can go into the scale tool and we can upscale this so that we can see it better when we're working. All right, we can move it away from the origin, and now that is out of the way while we work, but it is still visible to us. So that is the basics of using Maya so far. We will go in more in depth to the submenus and different screens and stuff in Maya and different tools as we create our project. This might seem a bit overwhelming at first, but I suggest just practicing the stuff we worked on and playing around. If you have any questions or want any clarifications, I will put my Discord tag in the description down below, and you can also contact me through the DevPro server. My name on Discord is C-Frame Collisions. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys later.